Welcome to the Coffee Experts Club. If you're at all interested in anything we talk about in this episode, go ahead and check out the description down below, or if you even just want to know more about us, click on the links below. Now on to the episode.
Hello.
Yeah, Coffee Experts Club with my mouth full of food. I didn't eat breakfast. I'm like, I got to eat a bar before we start this thing.
It's like a true coffee drinker.
Good.
Your ceiling is particularly attractive. I just want you to know.
Thank you. It looks like popcorn, but it's actually cement.
Wow.
Really?
Yeah, it's a cement
That's
house.
impressive.
They're like, hey,
I didn't
when you
it,
do
but-
the finish here, we really like that cool look that they're doing in the States called popcorn. If you could make the cement look like it, that'd be legit.
Wait, they drilled a hole in it there for my electric. Because in a
Love
cement
it.
house, you can't hide things in the walls.
Belize, it's a different animal.
Yeah.
Indeed.
You know what they do a ton of in Belize, Ben? They build intending to be able to build on top of it, and then nobody ever does. So it's just like this shitty second story, like no one ever built it, but it's all
I
designed.
was wondering when I was down there,
Yeah.
I was like, wow, there's a lot of construction going on around here. These guys are really like building up. So they're just
It's like
left like
10-foot rebar posts
Yeah.
leaning to one side.
And I would think, it's like, you're like, whoa, bro, don't be too judgmental. They're probably going to come back to that. It's been like 50 years. The building's been there, falling the thing still sitting off the side.
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
And nobody says like, hey, this kind of looks like crap. Maybe we should like go a different route with this.
There's nothing like that here.
That's hilarious.
No standards like that. All right. So anyway, not digging on Belize. Do we love Belize? But it was just something that's so different than what we see here. All right. So I thought today, guys, we're going to start breaking it into cadence of what we talk about kind of topically to direct us a little bit so we don't just jump on here and just like, let's talk about some random thing that we just made up that would be really cool. Wait, Drew, is that your puppy?
Yes.
Love it. Dude, look
She's
at her.
cute.
Still unnamed?
Still unnamed.
It's named Dog.
Skid mark?
Dog.
Is that where we're thinking?
Dog that pees. Yeah, I wanted to call her Skid Mark. She just pooped for the first time, so that was exciting.
You
Big
poop.
steps. Big
Ben,
steps.
do you remember when you were a young father and poop was exciting still?
That's never been an excitement of mine.
Anyway,
I was
so
like, what's going on?
we're going to talk about bringing him back in. We're going to talk about, and we're not talking about poop today. We're going to talk about, well, maybe we are, depending on how you take this topic. We're going to talk today
see.
about communication and how you're communicating with your team. Because I know for like Drew and I personally, we're trying to run a business in a different country, remotely, multiple locations, not close to each other. Most of you guys know we started the first drive-through coffee in the country of Belize. We have a location that's inland, that's an hour and a half to the coast, and then you have to take a plane or a boat to get over to the island where we have 2 more locations. So even when Drew's in country, or even when I'm in country, we can't be around all the stores at the same time. Like the fastest we could get there is hour and a half. I mean, like to drive there and to get on a 10-minute plane ride. So I think that I personally believe that the way you control communication is what makes your business successful, because with communication, you can have visibility even when you're not there, or at least can give you a feel for what's going on, even when you're not there, depending on how you do it. So I would love to talk today about how we communicate with our stores, because I think a lot of coffee shops are still using text.
Mhm.
I think a lot of people, one big text group, chuck them all in there and let's just start blowing some people up. And we're talking about all kinds of things in there. We're talking about, did we get beans today? Who are we running out of milk? Holy crap, we just ran out of energy drink. And scheduling nightmares. And I didn't get paid. And does anybody know if you can cover my shift? And there's like so much noise in one channel. It becomes very, very loud. And because it's so loud, people stop paying attention to it.
Or you're like me, who mutes every text message you ever get from there on out. Instantly muted. And then, you lose important information. That text group too is like, it's like there's no real file sharing inside that. It's lost. If somebody sends a picture, especially if you've got like 5 to 10 people in one group message, well, then say goodbye to ever finding that picture again, because 30 messages have gone by. It works for a very, very, very short amount of time. And then once you have any growth whatsoever, you got to move on from that. The problem is that most people, like, they get stuck in that group message, and it's so hard to get out of that black hole.
I think, Ben, that's really it. And I'm gonna play pros and cons today. So I'm gonna throw out some controversial topics that I know piss you and Drew off, because I think it's so fun to watch you guys do all this information like this stuff. But I think what happens is typically people default to whatever the founder is most comfortable with at the beginning, right? Because they're the one that started it, right? Founder's the one that's doing it, brings in a couple other people at that first location. They're going to communicate using the channel the founder is most comfortable in. And then over time, typically that channel doesn't scale well. But then the founder's like, this is what I do. I'm not willing to do something different. And then they get stuck. And then it becomes just absolute melee on how you're communicating. And there are different platforms out there to communicate. Like obviously we've talked about text. That's one. There's WhatsApp. We're going to talk about that extensively today. There's Slack. We use Voxer a lot at Collab Team internally here, not for coffee necessarily. But there's a lot of different mediums out there, not to mention tons and tons of other stuff. I know, Ben, you've got some other solutions that other coffee shops that you work with have been using. But I think it's just important for us to talk through how do you communicate, and then what's the best channel to use to communicate that way, and then maybe best practices we've seen. I'm going to give you a gift today, a communication guidance framework that is going to be free. So anyway, let's talk a little bit about some of the platforms and what we like and what we don't like.
I think for me, the angle that you take in developing out whatever platform you use takes a lot of forward thought and functionality. It was such a blessing that we used WhatsApp through the years of Roasters because we saw a lot of stop in and go in when it came to how we created forms of communications, how we used other platforms to communicate certain things, such as our scheduling platform to create updates, or we had a platform for tech issues. But ultimately, most of it started in WhatsApp. We had times where there'd be like a subcategory of a subcategory of a subcategory of the original chat because we just had to keep changing things, but we still needed the original one. And then we also needed the 2.0 and then we also needed the 3.0. So through those practices, we were able to kind of understand when to pivot or just change the name of a group chat and to change the people who are in the group chat to work with intention and be like, okay, is this naming convention scalable? Is it something that I will remember? Is it something that people will be able to remember? Is it going to be easy to search through? Just ask yourself all these questions. And the same thing we talked about last time. If I stress test this specific chat and its needs, is it going to work, with 20 more people? Is it going to work with 3 more stores? And so intentionally, thinking forward into those types of questions, ask yourself if it'll work for you.
Yeah. I think that let's start first with saying, so BlackRock uses uses Slack. Personally, when they came and they bought Roasters, took over 15 locations and all of our people, I just watched the whole thing go like this, just melt down into this isn't going to work here. Yeah, I mean, maybe the corporates at a high level, I think that's where it probably comes from, right? The bigger that you get, the more corporate that you get. A lot of corporate people use Slack as a messaging platform. At least if you're not living in the Microsoft universe, which I hope you're not. But I think that if you're moving outside of that and you're using Slack, I think Slack's an okay tool for corporate. We're in Slack for so many different businesses outside of coffee. The downside of Slack, I would say, for coffee people is typically coffee people are more analog. I'm not going to say like everybody, but I would say usually if you're working in coffee, you like craft, you like making a beautiful cup of coffee, you like the experience of a one-to-one relationship that you're building with your customers. Like all those things are going to lean a person more towards analog than digital, right? So you bring a barista into a digital environment like Slack and they're like, what am I even looking at? Like I don't communicate anything like this. Whereas a WhatsApp, what I really prefer about WhatsApp is it behaves a lot like a texting tool, which is something that all your baristas are really familiar with texting, familiar with, their ability to communicate by text. And I think that that's really important. I also think that the nice thing about WhatsApp is that you can create multiple channels, right? That you're communicating in, that you can say, hey, this one store has multiple different things attached to it. And then I'm going to group that out differently at the next store or the next store, or you can create umbrellas. I think there's a lot of really cool things you can do in WhatsApp where we can get very granular, on, are we talking about finance? Are we talking about delivery? Are we talking about top level management? Some of the naming conventions that, we have seen and the tool, I think you can check it out. I'm going to call it communication.coffeeexpertsacademy.com and just give you a communication tool. It's just a naming convention, but like in WhatsApp, it's going to give you like some of the breakouts of here's the manager level, here's the store level, here's some different other subcategory levels. And this is what I would call them. And it also talks about how frequently is it used, what types of messages? Am I just pushing messages or do I want conversational messages? The secrets to get into, I know, Bren, that was something we found was the bigger Roasters got, we needed a channel that we just wanted to say something and people could respond to it, up, down, thumb, or whatever, but they can't talk back at us. And Drew, I know we've even done that with some of the stuff that we've opened up WhatsApp to our customers, where our locals only, what we call locos only, like we want a bunch of people in that we can broadcast to, but we don't want them to say something back to us. Ideally, you want a platform that can do a lot of different things.
And I mean, that's your immediate. That is one of the reasons why I like WhatsApp. To your point, is it feels the most like you're just texting, which I think is also lends itself to be the easiest for an owner to adopt. Right, because that owner is going to be so used to just texting that you need something that feels very, very similar. Because just the muscle memory alone, like for a coffee shop owner who's maybe even still working on bar, if you're asking them, hey, I need you to go in and learn a new app for communication, they're going to be like, screw you, dude. I'm just going to text them. It's easier.
Right.
WhatsApp is mirrors just texting enough, but it has that functionality of the ability to broadcast. We can have our announcements channel where like, summer party is coming up, guys. It's at, X place, X, Y, and Z time. You can't have 100 people respond with a smiley face because then your phone's blowing up for an hour and a half with smiley faces. Like you need that sort of functionality, but it has to be very, very, very similar to what the owner naturally communicates with, which is most likely texting. The other thing that's great about WhatsApp, like you're saying, in creating those different chats and just it being an actual platform, is they do have, if you're on the WhatsApp business plan, they have an open API for you, which means essentially that if you get a hold of that API, if you're a tech head, or if you got a barista who's a tech head, or you're getting familiar with one of the AI models who can teach you how to be a tech head, once you have your hands on that API, it's kind of like keys of the kingdom. You can then start building out all sorts of stuff on the back end that's going to help make that WhatsApp even easier for you. Somebody sends a picture, it gets uploaded to Google Drive. And you talked about, I think Drew mentioned like ordering stuff, like people want to order things through you. Well, you could build out an ordering bot on it with that API. So it's texting, but it's so much more robust if you need it to be. If you don't need it to be, it's really, really easy to understand.
Drew, you also have some cool stuff I think that you do so we've established like a framework, right? So we've just named off a bunch of them. We don't want you to feel like you have to make a decision based on what we're saying. We're just giving you the upswing of what we found in WhatsApp, because Drew and I, once again, managing a business in a different country, even the kids in Belize, like who have a much less tech savviness, like because they haven't been exposed as much, but they all use WhatsApp. Everybody uses WhatsApp. And internationally, I think even a lot of people use WhatsApp. It's a great platform. Drew, you have some systems you use, though, not even just naming convention, not even just using WhatsApp as a tool, but even a consistent thing that you'll ask for, like from managers on a Friday. I saw the message go across today where you're like, hey, I want you to specifically communicate to me about these things. So I think that's important to talk about when we talk about communication as well. It's not just the platform or the way we're organizing the platform, but also what our expectations are if we're not planning on being in the shop every day.
Yeah, I mean, I see you check my phone activity and I get thousands of WhatsApp messages a week, and so in order to keep that something that's actually helpful and not really confusing and, creates chaos, you have to create expectations. And I've noticed, the more you zoom out to a higher level to manage things, you want to just manage systems. You want to just manage outcomes. You don't want to manage the entire process from A to Z. And a lot of that comes from communication. And so setting those expectations, and in each chat, let's say I want a reminder about something specific, like certain invoices or certain tech problems we were having, then I would reach out and consistently say, every time on this day, I need this kind of an update. And we ask for a lot of updates, and that's why I get 1,000 messages. But as Ben also takes advantage of, I mute the ones that I don't necessarily need to see. Because again, I have people managing those chats, and then those people will check in with me and I can ask those questions and expect them to be watching those things. Because if I had to do it all myself, I'd be sitting behind a computer 8 hours a day just answering messages. And that's really not ideal for somebody who wants to run a business.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you make a good point too, because that's one of the, I know because we did this, one of the knee-jerk reactions every owner is going to be when they start up that WhatsApp or whatever the platform is let's throw everybody in the one chat. Everybody goes in the chat. Everybody talks. I want to hear everything. And they're going to think that, and you're going to do that, and you're going to put them all in that chat. And then 4 days is going to go by, and you're going to have that 1,000 messages. You're going to be ripping your hair out. You'll be like, this was stupid. I'm not doing this. Forget it. This was a dumb idea. And then you'll kill it. Without those essentially safeguards is what you're putting in place for like your brain time Like, you guys can talk. That's great. I'm going to mute you. But if something's important, send an emissary in through a different channel. You know, you have your shop channel where you guys can all talk together. And then we have a different channel where it's just the managers of those shops who can then report to me, because I can't be in that shop channel. If I am, it has to be muted, because I cannot be trying to work while you guys are talking about the fact that your favorite puppy just came through the drive-thru and, oh my gosh, the pup cup just fell all over. Like, that, we can't have that. I think like I said, the knee-jerk reaction of the owner is, if they're not doing this already, they think, but I want to know everything that's going on. I want to know. I have to know. I need to know if there's a car broken down in the drive-thru. I want to know. You think you want to know, but by the time it actually happens, you're going to be pulling your hair out.
Yeah. So Drew's got a message he drops into what we call top level, right? Which is all the managers, not the assistants, just the managers of the locations, right? Me, Drew, managers, and then what I would consider like upper level team members, people that we've got, an individual responsible for logistics, the coming and going of all the goods, the production, and then the person that's over finance for our internal team. All of us are what I would consider a leadership team, and the managers are in this top level chat. And Drew drops in for the managers. Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Remember, the expectations for you as you wrap up your week. Friday updates, checklist complete, schedule posted. Just a reminder, stay up with it. Thanks, everybody. He literally drops that in there every Friday, and they come back and they give him exactly what he asked for. I know, Drew, you also request updates from them on a pretty consistent cadence as well, right? Like, hey, give me your updates. Maybe you could talk a little bit about the kind of updates that you want to see and why you ask for those.
Yeah, I mean, as Ben just mentioned, there's just so much unnecessary noise, but that unnecessary noise is kind of what makes a business fun for the people who work behind the bar every day. They're in the chats talking about their favorite puppy coming through. They're in the chats talking about the customer that comes through and gives them a hard time. It makes a more relatable ecosystem within the business for them, and that's great. So you don't really want to lose that. You don't want to cut that out. But I don't want to think about it. I don't want to see it. So when I'm going into my, top level or whatever, I ask for an update at the end of every day. Just something simple. I want to know if there's any customer issues. I want to know how the product sold, or if you're low on anything. And I want to know how it was with baristas, if there was any issues or any corrections that were necessary. It's just 3 concise points. And then at the end of the week, I like a wrap up of any overarching things that may not have needed to be mentioned, or any trends that you're seeing. Any tech issues with machines, because as I'm sure anyone who's watched this show knows, we've dealt with our fair share of that here in Belize. And so there's specific things that I like to see, but I don't want to have to watch all the things that happen in between. I just want to know what happens at the end of the day and what happens at the end of the week. And then Monday we get to start all over again. If I have to be involved in everything, which I have been, it really it drives me nuts, and I'm not an effective leader if I have to be involved in everything like that. And I think delegating out those kinds of responsibilities empowers your people to be better leaders for you too. So then you're leading leaders rather than leading the entire, anthill.
Yeah.
I think it's cool too for me to watch, because, the cadence of our business, like really my end of the business is finance, overarching bigger business, like things that we need to be considering, construction, dealing with like the banks, dealing with different vendors that might be at a higher level. Whereas Drew deals with a lot of the day-to-day boots on the ground, people that are running things. But Drew has a cadence of people underneath him, right? The managers are responsible for certain things. The assistant manager are responsible for certain things. Baristas working on those shifts are responsible for certain things, checklists and things. So I think Drew said something really smart at the beginning. He said, hey, so there are multiple channels, but I'm not responsible for every channel. Like, I've put people empowered to run certain channels, but I like to see what's going on there in case I want to pop in. I think it's also cool when Drew will say, hey, this is what I want in my end of week update. Give me a quick update of the day. Customers, equipment, products. That's the 3 things that the kids know every week. And so every day on Friday, they drop in there. Hey, here's a summary of today. Plus, here's what's the customers for the week. Here's the equipment for the week. Here's the products for the week. Here are things to be considered. The nice thing about having a global visual on all of that is I can punch any of those things out. Me being the fastest I can get to Belize is 8 hours from now. I can't get there any faster than that, right? Being 8 hours away, I can see something hit a channel and punch it out into a conversation with the leadership team and be like, hey, what's going on over here with this delivery thing? Or I can punch it out to just Drew and be like, hey, when they said this, what's going on with this? And Drew and I can have conversations where it doesn't have to involve everybody. I don't need to blow up this entire thread asking some questions. I can punch it out to a different group within WhatsApp still, within a certain way of communicating still, and have smaller conversations around a bigger issue. And it just, guys, listen, the biggest thing that I see visionaries do in businesses, create chaos. I really do. The visionary who started it very rarely is able to scale with it in a way that doesn't make it chaotic, right? So usually you're going to need to partner with somebody that's more an integrator is what EOS would call it, right? Entrepreneur's operating system. We talk about a lot here on the show. The visionary needs an integrator. The integrator needs to help them with organization. And then we all need to try and live in this ecosystem so that we're not driving our people crazy because we want them to have their own personal life, right? So that's another reason why I advocate for a closed environment where they could turn it off if they want to. Like if this is business. WhatsApp is business. Then I'm going to move to text for personal. You know what I mean? Like I think they're trying to create environments for our people so that we don't blow them up so much that people just burn out because they can't keep up with the noise that lives in our head. We as owners, it's not their responsibility to manage the noise like it is our ability to manage the noise. And if you're not organizing it, it's just bottled chaos. That's all it is. You're just like crowds, like trying to surf the crowd of chaos. So I would advocate for having a platform, breaking it into groups, deputizing people to do it, and then thinking about how you want to communicate it. I've got a tool for you. I'm actually going to shorten it down. I'm going to call it comms, COMMS, comms.copyexpertsacademy.com. If you're interested in that, grab it there. It's just a naming convention for that we've seen work. No matter what platform you're in, it's kind of platform agnostic, but it just kind of gives you an opportunity to say, oh, this is how you organize it. Oh, that's how you're communicating. Oh, that makes sense. So hope it helps. Hope today helps. Copy experts, thanks for tuning in. Drew, Ben, always excellent to see you two fine gentlemen on a Pizza Friday.
All right, gentlemen.
And hope you guys have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, fellas.
Love it. See you guys.